PRESSCORE people. I'm David Cruz. The president says you're going to take your winning and like it. And Governor Sherrill sounds the alarm on the state budget and reconsidering the USA chant in the current political climate. We'll bring the panel in to talk about that and more when PRESSCORE gets underway right after this.
Hi, we are taking a minute to remind you that when you like, subscribe, and share this content, you're helping to build an audience for independent journalism. Thanks for streaming. Let's get back to the show.
All right, let's welcome the panel in here. Matt Friedman is a reporter for Politico and editor of the New Jersey Playbook newsletter. Jelani Gibson covers politics for NJ Advanced Media. And Fred Snowflack covers the state for InsiderNJ. Welcome, gents. Matt, this president just keeps making history, the longest State of the Union ever. It must have felt good to just be a part of it, eh?
Sure. Yeah, I watched the highlights. I'm not going to lie and say I watched the whole thing. I'm not going to spend my, do a 12-hour workday and then oh boy, I can't wait to watch this hour and 45-minute speech or however long it was. Sorry, it's just not what I'm going to do with the little free time that I do have. So, but yeah, it seems like, standard, nothing revolutionary came from this speech. If you like Trump, you like the speech. If you didn't, same as usual.
So, I mean, it's just going to dissolve, I guess, like most State of the Unions. I guess it gets a few days of press coverage, and then it's really like it never happened. Fred, yeah?
Yes, I think things have changed. I mean, Matt kind of touched on it. I think everything is so polarized. I'm sure that most of the people who watched the speech the entire 2 hours tend to be Republicans or at least conservatives. They were fans of Donald Trump. And the people who dislike Donald Trump didn't watch it all. So in a way, he was speaking to the converted. So that's why I don't think it's going to have. I mean, this is true when Joe Biden was giving a State of the Union too. I mean, it doesn't really move the needle one way or the other.
And I think that's why you saw with these snap polls that showed something like 65% like the speech. It's because you're already starting with that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jelani, you were up late yesterday. Were you watching, or were you watching the speech this week?
I was celebrating as I am wont to do during this month. But I did catch the highlights of the speech. I didn't watch the whole thing either, but what seemed to be interesting is last time the speech was done, there was all this hoopla in the Democratic Party about Democrats speaking out or protesting and whether or not it was appropriate. And this time around, it seemed to be there seemed to be less, I guess you could say, internal party hand-wringing over the people who did interrupt the speech. Hakeem Jeffries seemed rather tolerant of it this time around.
Any impact on the midterms at all, or are things still looking blue, Matt, for the midterms?
Yeah, based on everything I can see. I mean, you can look at the polling, which shows various things on the general ballot. But I think really what we've seen all along, I think that the solid signs of sort of a Democratic wave coming is when you just look at whether it's the special elections that we've seen where Democrats generally overperform, not always, but generally.
Yeah.
And but really, I think in New Jersey, what we've been seeing is the vast amount of Democrats who are lining up to run for offices, both some districts that are pretty safe for Republicans, but any competitive district, you're getting like a dozen Democrats who want to run for it. And a lot of them have pretty serious resumes. So it's not just, everybody. So it's I think those are sort of the solid signs you could see. I mean, compare that to who Republicans are just like, who have they got running for Senate? I mean, you got Alex Sedin, you got, I forget this other guy's name, but really, they went through the entire alphabet and, wound up with Alex, I guess, maybe okay, finally, someone who wants to run. They just are not really recruiting. And granted, that's a really, really, really tough race, but still, you're seeing the lack of enthusiasm versus the Democratic enthusiasm in candidate recruitment, I think is a solid sign of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Fred, we were talking about this last week, and I was incredulous at Alex Zidane running for office for anything, but they don't seem to have much of a bench at all, or those who are on the bench are like, nah, I'll pass. But isn't this a great opportunity to take on Cory Booker and go down in flames?
Well, in another way, I mean, and along those lines, and the special election in CD11 for Mikie Sherrill's seat with the
Yeah.
Republican Joe Hathaway, he is actually saying that. He's saying things like, hey, this is a chance. We have a chance to sort of, quote unquote, bounce back or at least be competitive again. Now, granted, it's a congressional district that used to lean Republican. Now it's solidly Democrat. It's changing times and also changing districts. But yeah, but you're right. In theory, someone could make that same argument on the U.S. Senate side. Let's at least challenge Cory Booker. Let's at least give him a run for his money, quote unquote.
Well, that's tough talk coming from Joe Hathaway. He could have run for Senate. Jelani,
Yeah.
what's Joe Hathaway? I mean, I guess he's got a better shot than anybody who's going to try and run against Booker, right?
I mean, as we've discussed before, Booker has a very, very comfortable war chest. And not only does he have a very comfortable war chest, but he also has a very comfortable and pre-established block of voters that are going to ride with him. I would say that more than likely the controversy with Booker would be the primary. That more than likely you might see you could see a more far left candidate, a candidate that's more critical of a variety of interests that he's aligned with that could come and criticize him during the primary. But I've yet to see a Republican that can marshal the same type of war chest.
Yeah,
All right.
Book could. I mean, it's like I don't see it. I mean, he's got such name recognition and everything. I don't really see it likely that will get a serious challenge. But just like, I mean, Israel is such a motivating issue right now in the progressive and the farther left base. And if you're talking about Israel-friendly senators, I mean, he's
Here's one.
friendly. Yeah. Yeah. So.
All right. Let's move on to the Sherrill budget alarm.
Bottom line, we're facing a serious structural deficit. We all know Trump's funding cuts will cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars next year, slashing health care and housing, food aid and foster care, schools and infrastructure. We know the COVID relief party is ending after 6 years of cash flooding in from Washington and helping paper over some very real fiscal problems. And let's face it, for decades, previous administrations have allowed for business as usual in Trenton and failed to solve things long term.
A budget speech preview, Matt, Declan O'Scanlan and Tony Bucco saying, I told you so, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's governors come out and they say, we're facing it. They have no incentive to say everything's good and the budget will have no tough choices. They have incentive to set the worst expectations possible, a couple weeks before they lay out their budget. And honestly, while she sounded the alarm and there is a structural deficit and there are some issues, it could be, it could be worse. I think the real question is, what is she, look out for what she's going to do with STAY-NJ, because this is the Assembly Speaker's pet program. This is his baby. And it's got $1.5 billion coming into this. And how are you going to fund that? At the same time, she's saying, I'm not going to raise taxes. Well, if you cut STAY-NJ, you're cutting, otherwise realized savings on property taxes. Or if you screw with the school funding formula, property taxes for at least some people are going to go up. So it's just an expectations game. And structural deficits are often used as sort of, boogeymen or, to set expectations.
It's the four-letter word.
Yeah.
Fred, has every governor had a presser like this? I mean, I know that, I guess Christie did, as I recall. I don't know that the last guy, Murphy, did, but is it just standard practice to lower expectations, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, also she's trying to, not trying to, but she's trying to basically give the impression that she believes in transparency. I was the event on this week on Thursday, she didn't really say much. There were questions about things like, hey, what do you think of Christmas tree items? And what do you think if you don't want to raise taxes, that means you may have to cut things like stay in New Jersey. And she basically said, well, wait for the speech.
Regarding the Christmas tree items,
Yeah.
it's really, she had no official power at the time that the legislature just ridiculously rammed through 200 something million dollars in pork at the last second with zero transparency. It was absolutely outrageous the way they did it. Or, the last week or two of the session when they rammed through these incentives, these new tax incentives for very specific programs, including the Prudential Center, where maybe her view will change because she just got booed there. But like
I'm going to bring that up later. Go ahead.
yeah, she brings that up after she's been elected to office. Now, granted, now you have the power, but like you're the most powerful person, even though you have no official power when you're the governor in waiting. And like she didn't mention it until it was signed and out the door, which is a little disingenuous, let's be honest.
Interesting timing, to say the very least. Jelani, anything from this presser? Did you take anything away about what the future of, for instance, Stay in J might be?
Well, I mean, the presser is essentially setting expectations for pain.
Okay.
Right. This is kind of like when the doctor comes in the office and says, so we're gonna have to do some surgery here.
Yes.
And and you're basically looking at the doctor like, well, is my arm, is my leg going to be amputated? And the doctor's like, well, we'll talk about that later. But let's go through the reason why we're going to have to take some drastic options. And every reporter at the press conference was like, what are you going to cut? What are you going to cut? And she was just like, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later. And so, and so in the end, yeah, Stay in J. The school budget to see if something's going to happen with the school budget formula, and obviously the healthcare, the healthcare costs. Those are likely going to be the big three.
Matt, ain't nobody gonna do nothing about Christmas tree items.
No. I mean, let's be honest, pork is part of the political process all over the place. I can't say everywhere, but certainly all over the place. I don't know if it's everywhere or not. I just think, from a reporter's perspective, I think it's unrealistic to think that we'll see the end of pork. What I would like is just to see transparency. That way, you can give the sponsors a chance to justify their programs. You can explain them. The worst part, the something we can actually easily do something about, is to stop them doing this at the last possible second.
All right. Let's move on to some more legislative stuff. What about these immigration protection bills getting pulled from the recorded session, everybody calling in to the Senate this week? Was it the snow that got the things pulled? I asked a lawmaker about that, and they said that the snow was part of it because people wanted to, give speeches on the issue. But then they said that there was some tweaking of the language. Which is it? Jelani, do you know?
Yeah, so there was a pain point at a previous hearing about what the bills did to protect people with final deportation orders and people that have been accused of crimes but not convicted of crimes and everything like that. And basically what the advocates were saying was that a previous version of the bill would give more protections to people with final deportation orders because you can still appeal those orders. And they were basically saying that ICE will still come and get you before you have the opportunity to make an appeal. And so
they're trying to tweak that language and return that language.
Well, that seems to be a pain point amongst the advocates, and what some legislators have claimed that they are going to take a look into. But as they always say, seeing is believing.
Yeah, man, I smell Scutari. Am I wrong?
I honestly, I can't answer that at this point. I haven't looked into it enough, but I did get the sense like that I talked to several people about these immigration bills, and there's various reasons they cited for them not being on that agenda, being pulled off that agenda. But nobody told me that it's because they don't have the support. And some of it is just technical because that, those phone voting sessions are just like, it takes an hour just to do some basic business. Like imagine, you have a controversial bill where a lot of people want to speak. I mean, we'll be here all day. I think it was more just like, pulling it off to do it where people could stand up and say their piece.
Fred, you were smiling there.
No, I think it might have been the snow. I mean,
Yeah.
as Matt says, I mean, but still, I mean, if it was the snow, we'll find out soon enough, right? We'll find out at an upcoming session.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jelani, this crash in Newark after this ICE got into a chase, that one is reverberating this week.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of that incident on social media. That's also the thing about this new news age, right? Is that a lot of the times when incidents surface, they're surfacing through the hands of the people that are living in whatever city is experiencing what we're talking about. This isn't the first time we've seen a controversy of this specific law enforcement agency getting into a crash with a bunch of civilians and then essentially causing a scene. And so as more of these laws get put on the books and everything like that, you certainly may see more protests and more confrontation against that agency.
Yeah, I think it was, I mean, the idea of when do you chase and when do you not? Was this person wanted for murder? You know, I haven't seen anything about the person they arrested. Is this just someone who was here illegally, or is this someone who actually is a criminal? We don't know. And it's like, is it worth the cost to the community of potentially doing this damage to pursue this person? And it's probably, you know, you have to weigh those things, and it doesn't seem like anyone is. And I think that's why people are so outraged, because apparently, I don't know the extent of their injuries, but some kids were injured here who had absolutely nothing to do with it. So is it like worth it to detain one person who might be deported that you're putting a lot of people in harm's way?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, I mean, you think about it, high-speed chases in the middle of a city doesn't really make any sense at all unless you're dealing with someone who's a heinous criminal.
Yeah, even local cops get directives to break off chases or not engage in chases. Anyway, sticking with ICE causing more problems. Fred, ICE causing problems for Anthony Bucco and Tom Kane Jr. You want to explain that?
Yes, there's a proposed ICE detention facility in Roxbury Township in the western part of Morris County.
Very red part of the state, right?
Yeah, this is in Tom Kane's district.
Right.
The township government in Roxbury, they're all Republicans, but they realize that having an ICE center in their town is not going to do the image of the town any good. So they are fighting it, and they have basically opposed it via resolution. And they actually sent out a statement that criticized Tom Kane, not by name, but the statement said, our quote unquote federal representative has not advocated for us the way we had hoped. That's a polite way of saying he hasn't really done anything. So that's Tom Kane under fire. Now, Tony Bucco, the Senate Minority Leader, is also the township attorney in Roxbury. You got to love New Jersey, these things like this go on.
It reminds me of the whole affordable housing thing. Like, just stick it in the cities. Who cares? You know, like, we're all for immigration enforcement as long as it's not in our backyard, you know?
So even though the town council is against the Tony's the attorney, and some of the opponents of ICE, they realize that in Trenton, Tony has not, for instance, he's been a no vote on some of the immigration bills they're just discussing. So their view is that Tony's not really into fighting this, and he should resign. And that point was made at a council meeting this week. And of course, he's not resigning, but he's kind of under hot. He's kind of a target as well now.
But for Kane, I mean, what a headache. I mean, between this, Trump putting this in his district, so alienating one of the more Republican towns in Morris County, and then trying to hold up the Gateway project with what I think he said cost overruns now, which is the same way Christie killed the ARC tunnel, and I think it's the fourth. I think it's the fourth new justification for killing this thing, as he just goes one after the other, says whatever at the moment seems like the right answer. I mean, you're just doing a 1-2 punch with voters. You're getting the commuter part of the district. You're getting the red part of the district.
I mean, Kane brings this on himself. He doesn't really communicate with the public. I mean, this is kind of funny. At the council meeting, somebody said to the council, why don't we invite Tom Kane in for a meeting? And everybody started laughing because they know that would never happen.
Oh, that's terrible. Even in Republican country, Jelani, ICE is just spreading cheer throughout New Jersey for Democrats.
I mean, it looks like the agency is becoming a political headache for both sides here. I mean, it would have been hard to have imagined, even in the first Trump administration, that a Republican town welcoming an ICE detention facility would be controversial. And now it's gotten to the point where even Republican towns don't want ICE detention facilities in their backyard. I mean, this is clearly the mark of what's fastly becoming a very unpopular law enforcement agency with the public.
And it's
Meanwhile-
also interesting. I mean, they're just opposing it on infrastructure grounds, and that's just kind of a familiar thing, a catch-all. When you don't want it there, generally, it's the same justification that people use against, say, in some communities, building temples or mosques. It's like, oh, it's the parking. Oh, it's the water use. It's actually, you don't want this around you for various reasons with the people there, you know? And I'm sure there are infrastructure questions, but I feel like it's more than just like water usage here that they're not liking about this facility.
Nobody buys that, right? Like I don't, I don't think anybody's at the public meeting. I think it's very certain at this point that when you are trying to put an ICE detention facility in somebody's backyard, that the controversy itself is the ICE detention facility. You know,
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, Mayor Baraka was doing this with Delaney Hall, right? You know, everybody was already inside on on what was actually going on. Is Delaney Hall a very, very old building that probably shouldn't be used to house people? And is it going to fall apart? As it did fall apart eventually, it did, right? But yeah, everybody knew that when the mayor of Newark is, saying, "Oh, I'm here for an inspection. We're going to find these people." It's because he doesn't want that facility in his city.
Yeah.
So
Those other things are just tools to try and make that happen.
yeah,
Zoning and all of that. Meanwhile, Jelani, the Department of Justice is suing New Jersey to overturn the executive order from the governor. Was that the one limiting staging on state grounds? Is that what that was?
yeah, basically that's what it did, and they've launched lawsuits against other states for similar reasons. But once again, the order also says you need a judicial warrant and everything like that. The order itself, basically, and we've talked about this before, but it basically relies off of a conservative interpretation. One Democratic lawmaker referred to it as Tai Chi. That's where the concept of sanctuary cities came from. It came from the concept of conservatives who did not want to be told what to do by the ATF when it came to local gun control. And so they started establishing cities that wouldn't work with the ATF. Those were the original, those were the OG sanctuary cities. And now the Democrats are essentially using the same conservative argument to keep these to keep these sanctuary cities open. And so the thing with conservatives is, how are they going to go after the liberal sanctuary cities without weakening the laws that have upheld theirs? And it doesn't look like any of them seem to have had a good answer for that yet.
All right, moving on. Matt, kudos to Sherrill, right? No governor has had to handle 2 major snowstorms in a week. No major disasters. You got to give her that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really usually get credit for nothing going terribly wrong.
Yeah.
2 huge snowstorms, some power outages. It's mostly resolved by now. I mean, yeah, she made it through. No major complaints. I saw that there were some far right people saying, "How dare you put in travel restrictions? This is an authoritarian government." It's like, except that's just common practice, and every single governor, has done it with major storms. Yeah, she did fine. No problems there. Nothing serious anyway. Murphy had a big problem, but let's be honest, with Murphy's first big storm, no one knew there was, and it wasn't just New Jersey that was caught unprepared for that. It was the whole region. We've had good warning for these storms, so that helps too.
Yeah, I was going to say, Fred, they had ample warning. So the danger was if you screwed up after having had ample warning.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why, maybe 25, 30 years ago, governors would shrug their shoulders and say, "Hey,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
it's winter time, it's going to snow, we'll just handle it." But now everything's become political, especially with Phil Murphy. And some remember years ago when there was a snowstorm over Christmas and Chris Christie was in Disney World in Florida.
Right.
He refused to
Watch
come
how you
back.
plan your vacations.
Yeah.
Jelani, you got around okay, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, these two snowstorms. I mean, essentially, you remember Murphy, right? He got whacked so much
Yeah.
for his response that the man just basically started salting everything when there was
Right.
Salting in July.
yeah. He literally salted the earth after that, you know. And so I mean, I think it's kind of like common practice at this point that the new standard is, when in doubt, salt the earth. And I think that's going to stay in place for quite some time.
I'm writing that down. When in doubt, salt the earth. Meanwhile, Matt, the state has been, I guess, secretly investing in one of the companies that is big into the private prison business. What's the
Yeah.
story?
I'm really curious. We don't know why the state reinvested in Geo Group after divesting in it, and it's only like $800,000. But
Which Murphy made a big thing about, right? We divested from all
right
of it.
at the time, I think it was $1.3 million New Jersey divested, and at the same time as New Jersey was reinvesting, the state was suing, or the state had passed a law. It wasn't suing; it was defending against a lawsuit by these companies to outlaw private detention centers, detention centers in New Jersey. So it's really curious why it happened. It just seems like a weird kind of own goal. Ultimately, we're talking about such a tiny percentage of the pension fund that, like, again, makes little sense because all this can be is really a symbolic investment. So why choose to make that one? We really don't know yet, and who knows if we will know why that happened.
Yeah, a couple of sports related questions here to close us out. Is it right to boo the governor? She's only been a month on the job, as they did in Newark at the Devils game.
I don't know if it's right. I mean, I guess you can make too much of it. I think everything is political these days, but generally speaking, I'd say hockey fans probably lean to the right more than leaning to the left, and that's part of it. Also, the fact that people like to boo politicians.
Yeah, I think I saw someone say, and I haven't confirmed, but I know Christy Whitman was famously booed at a Devils Stanley Cup celebration. I've heard they booed other governors. But yes, I mean, demographically, you take hockey is the whitest major sport to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So, you already have that demographic, plus mostly men. So you already have a more conservative demographic right there, for what it's worth. I don't think you can take that as a cross section of New Jersey. But
I mean, after all, we had an election 3 months ago, and she got 55% of the vote.
Well, if you believe Twitter, which I always do without question, that just proves that she didn't actually win that election. That it was illegal immigrants voting. So,
who don't go to hockey games.
Take that to the bank. Yes, that's
Jelani, you add a couple of Budweisers into that mix, and no governor is safe, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, every governor can get booed at any game, but as was said before, I mean, whether if it was a hockey game or if it's a UFC fight, I don't think that she'll be, getting, I don't think she'll be able to go to a hockey game or a UFC fight and everybody's going to start clapping when they see her. I don't think that's going to happen right there.
Yeah, probably would have been people are just like they don't want to see politicians at their sporting events, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, does she really have to be there?
Well, I mean, she can enjoy everybody can enjoy the game, but it's like, would she have received boos at an NBA or NFL game? I mean, the demographics do matter. As we say, a lot of things are political these days. And, more than likely, if President Trump was as he has been at UFC fights in Prudential, as he has, been at some hockey games, hockey teams, more than likely he would have received cheers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know that too.
Lastly here, and short answers if you could. USA, USA. I was talking to a lawmaker about that particular chant. They said it used to feel a lot different and that now it feels like a threat to some people. Are we being a little sensitive, Matt?
Yeah, it's never going to be like, especially if you're a politician, you're never going to win by criticizing people chanting a ostensibly non-political thing. But certainly there is a sort of weaponization of patriotism, I think, by the Trump administration, and that's why people might feel uneasy about it. But you should be patriotic. You can love your country and believe it needs changes and maybe, not like the leadership, but generally people aren't going to respond well to people who don't love, who express disdain for the country generally instead of just, certain aspects of it. So you have to, it's never good politics to take any sort of have any sort of problem with that.
Yeah. Jelani, is the difference between USA and USA. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the political context matters. I don't think that anybody will be calling for the chants themselves to be banned anytime soon. But, look, when people chant whatever it is that they want to chant, and they're chanting about their country, it's usually about two people or multiple people that have opposing visions of what it means to be an American. And I think that's what you're seeing around the controversy of those chants.
Fred, you had a couple of Budweisers to that, and
Oh, absolutely. And also along the same lines, I mean, you see sometimes people driving, even in New Jersey, with massive American flags in the back of their car. And, this is a patriotic symbol, but it's also, I mean, this is kind of something that MAGA encourages. Now, maybe they're not wrong to encourage it because it's patriotism, but I mean, it is something that MAGA encourages. And that's why maybe the USA chant has become somewhat more controversial than it was.
And those cars with those big flags creating all that drag, usually big cars, they're first people complaining about the price of gas.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. PRESSCORE is done for the week. Jelani Gibson, Matt Friedman, Fred Snowflack, thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you for streaming, liking, and subscribing. I'm David Cruz. We'll see you next week.